Now, before directly jumping to SAP, we need to know a little bit about the important terminology, which is ERP. Right? You all know that ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning. Enterprise Resource Planning. So, if I talk way back before 1972, at that moment there was no any ERP software in the market, or we can say that some ERP software were there, but they were not that much effective. So, what is the job of a ERP software? The purpose of any ERP software, purpose of any ERP software is to manage the entire organization, right? Organization, so that we can maximize the profit of the organization. We have discussed this part in the demo session also, right? That organization, organization. Wait a second. So, what is the meaning of managing an organization? If I talk about, let's say, for example, if I'm taking a very simple example, let's say we have a organization. So we have a organization there. I will have there we will have lots of employees, resources, products, accounts, and sales, etc. Lots of department will be there. So as a owner, how am I supposed to manage everyone? Supposed to manage everyone in such a way that I can utilize all my resources, so that I can increase my profit, right? This will be my goal. I can increase my profit. So as a owner, this is a really burden for me, because I have invested millions of dollars on this organization, and this should give me lots of profit, which is my expectation. So if I am discussing all these things with my management team and my HR team, it is really difficult for everyone to manage all these things, because we have lots of department, lots of people, lots of resources, and our single goal is so that we can utilize our resources effectively. That's where any ERP software comes into the picture. What ERP software is saying? A ERP software always claims that I am going to manage your entire department, and as a owner or admin, you will have the license, and access of everything, so that just by sitting at your home, you can check the growth and maintenance of your organization, That's what a ERP software claims. So way before 1972, lots of companies were growing. Growing, and they were facing these issues, this issue for management. So 5 employees of IBM realized this problem, and they came with a solution. What they did is they left their job, and they founded a company. And they named it SAP. They do not named it SAP, they named it System Application and Product in Real-Time Data Processing, but as a abbreviation so that anybody can pronounce it easily, this software was named at SAP, right? So that's where your SAP came into picture. Founded a company in 1972 and they named it SAP. So now let's move on to our SAP part, what SAP is all about. What is SAP? SAP stands for System Application and Product in Real-Time Data Processing. This is the actual definition of a SAP system. Usually we call it only System Application and Product, but this is the actual definition of a SAP software, that it is only talking about real-time data processing. Whatever data is currently there in the market or currently there in the organization, it is going to process the data, manage the data, and over the time, every organization realize every organization accepted this software for their ERP management, and gradually SAP became the best ERP software in the market. That's where SAP became. Now, how is that possible? It's really very easy for me to say that SAP became the best ERP software in the market, but was it so easy? No, definitely not. It was not easy. So how it became so popular? So lots of features were there, features of SAP software that's made it so popular, so that we are today learning. You all are investing a good amount for learning this SAP technical part. Slowly we will move on to each portion and we will understand it in detail. So if I talk about the features of this software, what I will say it here is that it is an integration. First one is it an integration of all the functions into one common software. All the functions into one common software. Now what does it means? So every organization has lots of departments, right? Every organization has lots of departments, and what SAP has done, SAP has divided all these departments, and SAP software calls them as a module. So all these functions are combined together into one single software, which is your SAP ERP software. This is the first thing. Now there is a challenge, because if you want to sell your product globally, if this is a software, then it should work in every language across the globe, right? It should accept every other language. If we are in Germany, it should work on German language. If I am in England, it should accept English language. If I am in India or let's say if I'm in Russia, it should accept Russian language. So all language it must support. This is a goal. So this also SAP knew when they launched this product. So what they did is SAP made this software as a multilingual software. Multilingual software, that is, it supports more than 40 languages across the globe. That's why it's so popular, accepted by every country. It is currently being used in more than 100 countries across the world. This is the second thing. Third and most important feature of a SAP software is it is not a open source, software, and its security is unbreachable. We cannot um, get access of SAP software without user ID and password. You cannot access the SAP software. That is the most crucial thing. You must have the license of your SAP software. So these are some of the most important feature of a SAP software. That's why it became so popular across the globe. Okay. Then if I talk about this SAP, SAP was founded by its parent company, SAP AG, in 1972 at Waldorf, Germany. It's a German-based product. That's why Germany. That is why it is also known as German-based product, right? SAP was founded by its parent company SAP AG in 1972 at Waldorf. Now, if you will search on Google, you will find out that this Waldorf has become a very big SAP. If you will see the image, you will find out. You see, they have established a big city over the Waldorf. This has become a big city. So SAP is currently generating, if I talk about its profit, SAP is generating a revenue of more than 300 billion every year. We can expect to have a good future in our upcoming years also, because whatever the innovation happening in the market, SAP is simply accepting all these innovations and they are also implementing into their software, right? So this is the feature of SAP software. Now let's move on to its architecture. So architecture, SAP software. Architecture of this SAP software. So when SAP launched the first version of SAP software in 1972, at that time its version was called R1. Here R word simply means real time. Whenever you see R word, R is simply means real time. So R1 here, what R1 was saying, that all the components including the database was combined into a single system. That's how R1 was working: database layer, presentation layer, application layer, that is logical part, and everything was inside a single system. But over the time, SAP realized that this is not good for security. R1 was not good for security, as anybody can easily access the data and destroy it, right? So over the time, SAP also realized this mistake, and SAP decoupled software into two parts. So from there, SAP launched its second version, which is R2. Here again, real time 2. Now, in this R2 version, I talk about in this R2 version, you will find out that presentation layer or user interaction layer and application layer was together as a single layer, and database layer was the second layer for storing the data. So this was for a single layer, and this was another single layer. So this was definitely an improvement over the first architecture, over the first version. But if you see this architecture, you will find out that presentation layer and application layer are together, right? Which is causing lots of problems, which is causing load on the first layer, right? Writing logic on the same part. User is also performing interaction. So lots of load was there on the first layer. So because of this, the performance of the SAP system was not that good, and market was evolving, right? So SAP also wanted to establish itself as the best software in the market. So over the time, SAP realized that this is also not good, this version is also not perfect. So over the time SAP also decoupled the presentation and application layer and launched its third version of the SAP system. Third version of the SAP system. This version was called R3, real-time third generational SAP software. This version was called SAP R3, and here if you see the layers, you will find out that the presentation layer was there, application layer was there, right, and database layer was there. So this presentation layer was also called user interaction layer. That is, from here user will give input and they will take the output. This layer was completely focused on these two things, only taking input from the user and then returning is the output. Then we have this application layer. Application layer was only for logic part. That is, logic will be there and it will be executed based on the input given by the user. So we as a ABAPer write the logic and we build the application on top of it, on top of this layer, right? This is our responsibility. This is where we are going to perform all the actions. Over time we will also decouple ourselves from this thing, but for now we are only going to write our logic over here. And this is your database layer. So this is the database layer where we will write our logic. Okay, so when SAP launched third generation, they named it ECC system, which is Enterprise Central Component. This was called ECC system, where SAP was using the database from different versions, different vendors like Oracle, MySQL, MS SQL, etc. Lots of vendors were there who were providing the database. So as a company, if I am buying this SAP software, so as a company, if I am buying this SAP software, I was using the databases from these different vendors, because SAP did not provided any of their own databases. This was a problem also at that time, right? This was a problem at that time also. That's where your SAP launched its S4 HANA software, and there we started using the HANA database. So for now, I will not explain that part, because that part we will move on when we will be discussing our HANA DB in detail. There we will discuss that. But for now, what we will see is we are only going to use the HANA DB. For now, just this much. When we'll move on to HANA DB part, there we will discuss this portion and the version in detail. Okay. So this is our currently database layer, which we are going to use HANA database. Perfect. Now this is my ABAP application layer. So let's discuss this a little bit so that we can understand how as a developer we are performing and how the programs actually runs in the background. So application layer. Application layer. Perfect. So first thing, ABAP is the programming language of the SAP system. Programming language of the SAP system. Okay, it stands for Advanced Business Application Programming. Advanced Business Application Programming. So before R3, SAP do not have their own programming language. programming language, and they were using Java, so which was not good for company's future, right? Which was not good for company's future. So what SAP did, SAP combined the features of some of the most popular programming language, popular open source programming languages across the globe, and they created their own programming language, and they named it ABAP, or you can call it Advanced Business Application Programming. Because if I am not launching my own product, and if I'm still using the product of any other organization, so definitely over the time people will realize that this product is not good for us. So SAP also knew this thing at that time. So what they did was they just used the feature of some of the open source programming languages across the globe, like Java, SQL for interacting with the database, and C++, etc. Lots of programming language, and they created their own programming language and they named it ABAP, right? Where does ABAP lies? So ABAP lies on the application layer of the SAP system. Application layer of the SAP system. This is where your ABAP lies, directly on the application layer, and all the screens and sections that you see on the SAP GUI or software is created or designed by using the ABAP programming language only. That's why it's very crucial for us to understand this programming language. How will I know that, and how do I know that all these screens and sections have been designed using this programming language only? So if you want to know this, just click on system and status on any screen. You will find out that this is the programming language on which everything has been designed. So let me just open the SAP system. SAP log on. I will give my credential here. I will press enter. This is the first screen that we always see whenever you log in. SAP Easy Access screen is the first screen you will always see. Go for system and status, and here you will see the program. Double click on the program. This program is the backend program which has been designed for your SAP Easy Access screen. Lots of things are there. Slowly we will discuss that. This include, see here, some definition, some logic, something has been definitely written here, right? So this is ABAP programming language. So you can directly see that. Now, if I talk about this ABAP application layer, so this application layer is also known as ABAP application layer. So let me just show its architecture. This is the architecture of your ABAP application layer. Just see this architecture. This is your presentation server. This is your presentation server, or you can call it presentation layer, from where your user will give some input, and as a developer or as a application layer, you are going to return the output to the user. Then at last we have this database layer. At last we have this database layer. So this database layer is where our HANA DB is available, and we are going to store data directly on this database layer. Now in between these two layers, we can see this is application server or application layer. And if I talk about this application server, what it is doing from presentation server, the first component of the application layer which is connected with presentation layer is your dispatcher. So components of our ABAP application layer, that we need to understand how the flow of program is working here. Components of ABAP application layer. Components of ABAP application layer. So our application layer mainly consists of four major components. First one is your dispatcher. Second one is your work process. Third one is your user context. And fourth and the last one is your role area. So these are the four major components of our ABAP application layer. So this is my dispatcher. What dispatcher is doing, all the request that is coming from the presentation layer is intercepted by the dispatcher. It is intercepted by the dispatcher, and what this dispatcher will do, it is simply going to store it, and this dispatcher is simply going to store all this thing. Intercepted validation. This dispatcher will store all these requests into the dispatcher queue. In your college days, you might have heard about the queue data structure. Queue data structure works on the principle of first in first out, right? So this is like a temporary storage, you can call it, where all the requests coming from the user are first directly stored or allocated. So you can see here this dispatcher is connected with a queue. This queue is like a storage. So all the requests coming from presentation layer are directly transferred to this dispatcher queue, right? Then one by one, this dispatcher locates these requests into the first available work process. All these requests are first stored into the queue, and then this dispatcher is simply going to bring them one by one, and it will allocate it to work process. This WP is your work process. So what is work process? Work process is like the brain of human being. It's like the brain. So our brain is the one who is doing everything. I am speaking, but who is directing? My brain is directing that I need to speak. My hands are writing some text on this laptop, and who is doing that? My brain is simply passing that instruction to my hand that you need to write this thing, right? So this work process is the brain of your application layer. It's like the brain of the application layer. It handles the requests. Whatever request is going to come, it will handle the request. And work process can handle one request at a time. It can handle only one request at a time. So if you see this work process, you will find out that it has got lots of work processes inside this application layer. So dispatcher will simply allocate them. Since we have multiple work processes, multiple requests can be handled at a time. Okay, this is the one who is actually performing any action. Then at last, third one is my user context. So it is a temporary memory available on the application layer, who is responsible for storing the data, storing the user data. So when we log in to our SAP system, whenever we are going to log in our SAP system, our data will be stored into this user context. Our data will simply be stored into this user context memory. And when we will log out, our data will be freed. This is how this user context works. Similarly, we have one more temporary memory here, which is role area. So how this role area is working? Role area is also a temporary memory. On the application layer. It is also a temporary memory on the application layer. And when the program is executed, at that time, a role area is allocated for the program. When we will click on the execute button to execute our particular program, a role area memory will be allocated for that program, and when the execution will be finished, the role area memory will be freed, right? So these are the four major component of our ABAP application layer, how our architecture is actually working. Taking input from the user, is getting stored into the queue, then transferring into the request, handling where request is getting handled. If the request is to execute a program, the program will be executed, and this role area memory will be, so you can see here, it is extended memory, extended into the ABAP application layer. It is a temporary memory, and whenever we are going to execute any of the program on this application layer, this role area memory will be allocated, then the data will be calculated, and finally based on the data available in the database, and at last we will simply transfer the data via dispatcher back to our presentation layer, right? This is how our ABAP application server works. Now, if any project is allocated to any SAP company, let's say if the company is TCS, Accenture, or any of the big four organization, or any small organization also, how does the projects is handled? So how the projects is handled into SAP system. If a project is getting allocated, how it is actually handled, right? That part is very crucial. So basically we are going to discuss the SAP system landscape for the projects. How projects is handled? Going to discuss the SAP system landscape for the projects. So let's suppose a hypothetical situation, right? I'll say that let's suppose everything is getting handled or executed on a single system, that is writing the program, testing of the program, deployment of the application that we built, deployment of the application that we built, and also the client is executing the already developed application on the same system, on the same single system. Just think about this hypothetical situation: writing program, testing it, deployment. The client is also executing the already developed application on the same single system. Definitely, I can say that the performance of the system will be not good. The best example to understand it, for example, let's say I have opened all these tabs together. I'm running a movie, I'm opening this Chrome, executing something there. Parallelly, I'm writing some code over my server, this software also. Parallelly, I have opened this software also. So lots of software, if I will open at the same time, definitely it will be a very difficult job for my CPU to perform all these actions together. So the performance of the system will be not good. So what SAP said, or what SAP did, SAP again divided their system into three different parts for different purpose, and all these systems are connected together. First thing, are connected together and mainly handled by the basis team, which I have explained. And you might also know this, that the basis is also a technical module, and basis people are responsible for management, administration, proper configuration of the system. Everything is handled by the basis team. So this part also comes under basis team. So these three landscape, the first one is your development system. So development system. Second one is your quality system, and the third one is your production system. Three systems SAP gave us. So this is the development system. As a developer, we have the access of this system. As a developer, we have the access of this system. I'll say that as a developer, we have the access of this system, and on this system, we will develop our product. Everything, every access for the developer is there on this development system. Then this is the quality system. This system is dedicated for testing purpose. Where your testing team will test the application developed by the ABAP team. Quality system is where it is your testing team will test the application. If there will be some problem, it will be sent back to the development, and it here some thing will be done again, it will be sent to quality, and then the production system. So this system is where your end users will uh, finally execute the application, and they will check and they will do the final testing. Also, your client will run the developed app on this system only. Three systems are dedicated for three different purposes: development, quality, and production. Now I simply said that whenever my product will be ready, this will be transferred to quality system. How it will be transferred to quality system? How it will be transferred to production system? And what if there is some error found at quality system? How development system will again simply make the changes, and how it will be again sent back to quality system? How this thing is going to happen? So all these things are taken care by a very important terminology in SAP system, also called transport request. Very important terminology. Every functional or technical or any end user, everybody has the idea of this transport request, because somehow everybody is going to use this one. So this transport request is a mechanism. This transport request is a mechanism which is used to transport the object from one system to another system, that is from the from the development system to quality system and to production system. This is how it is transferred. Now what will happen, and who does this responsibility? So the basis team, when we will develop our application, we will request the basis team, to import the application from development to quality, so that the quality team can do the testing, right? They can do the testing part. So this is the main thing, transport request. So now you will definitely have realized that whatever application we are going to develop, a transport request must be aligned for that. So it is very crucial to develop or to store all our developed applications, that is programs, database objects, etc. on the transport request. First thing, this is not where your actual data is stored, but this transport request must be aligned with your developed application, Otherwise, if your developed application will not be aligned with the TR transport request, then you cannot transfer it from one system to another system. So it is very, very important for us to simply allocate, okay, into the transport request. Very, very important thing, right? It's very crucial. So we will create our transport request and then we will move on. But before that, when I logged in into SAP system, I saw, okay, let me reopen it. So when I logged in into my SAP system, this is the first screen, or if I'm going for anything, let's say I'm going for this one or any other place, all these screens are a little bit similar and a little bit different. So we need to discuss first what are these elements of our SAP GUI. So one by one we will divide each thing into smaller units, and so that it will become easier for us. So elements of our SAP GUI. But before that, one question I want to know from you all, that do you all have installed the SAP system, or do you all have got the access for this SAP system?
Yes.
Uh, did you install it on your local PC, or you have only remote access?
No, I have remote access.
Okay, you have SAP software on your local system.
Yes.
Then you
Yes.
can, then you can use the credential on your local system also. You know how to create on the local system.
Yes. Using the
Yes, you can directly go here and
connections.
you can simply go for this create button. You'll be
Mhm.
able to add it. Okay, next, pass the description, application server, instance system ID, and just go for finish. You will be able to log in your real local system also. For Eclipse we cannot use it, but for GUI it is allowed in my software. You can use here. Okay,
Okay.
Saurabh, what about you?
Yeah, I haven't installed it, but I received the credentials from your colleague that I will
Okay,
install
so
today.
yeah, let me know whenever you face any issue for installation. Okay, you can
Yeah,
ping me personally also.
yeah. Thank
Is
you.
it clear, Omar, Rahul, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's good. So let's discuss these elements of our SAP GUI. So SAP screen, or we can divide the SAP screen into seven different parts. First one will be your menu bar, or standard toolbar, or you can, third one will be command bar, fourth one is oh, title bar, fifth one is your application toolbar, and the sixth one is your screen area, and the seventh one is your status bar. So seven different parts we can divide our recipe screen. So let's just go back to our first screen. This is my very first screen, and if I have to divide it, let's see how we are going to divide that part. Not this one. Yeah, see, this is your SAP Easy Access screen, right? So first thing is that you see on the top of every screen is your menu bar. This is the first screen, and this menu bar always appears on the top of every screen. If I am going for any other screen also, I will see that this menu bar will be there, but some new features are also there. So what we can say here, this menu bar changes from screen to screen, but one important thing is system and help. These two things are always available on every screen. Just go to any screen. Let's say I'm going for this one. See, system help. If I am going for some other thing, system and help. Everywhere I will see that this is available, right? This is your menu bar, and menu bar contains the menus of your system screen. Then the second one is your standard toolbar. This standard toolbar is also known as function keys. They all are functions keys. For example, if you're going there, see here, this is back button, this is exit button, this is cancel button. So all these are keys or functions or buttons. You can call it anything. They are standard toolbars. It simply means they are standard buttons given by the SAP system, which we are using, right? Then the third one is this one, command bar. Very, very important. Command bar. This section is where, this is where we pass the commands. And in SAP, commands are called transaction codes. Transaction codes. In SAP, commands are called transaction codes. Now the question comes here, what is a transaction code? So transaction codes are basically the shortcuts to access the, or to go to the different part of the SAP system, right? They are just the shortcuts to go to the different parts of the SAP system, right? So lots of transaction codes are there, lots of standard transaction codes are there. Transaction codes are there designed by SAP. Also, we will design our custom transaction codes in the upcoming session. Design our custom T codes. These transaction codes are also in short form known as T codes. So custom T codes in the upcoming session, right? This part is there. Then the fourth important part is your title bar. So this is your title bar. Title bar. Title bar always appears on every screen, and it is just below the, you can see there that it is just below your standard toolbar. It is just below the standard toolbar, and it contains the title of every screen. For example, this is my ABAP editor where I will do the programming. If I'm going for S11, I will see that this is ABAP dictionary. ABAP dictionary where I will develop my database objects. If I'm going for SAGW, that part is for my SAP Gateway Service Builder, where I will develop my APIs, which I will consume from Fiori application, right? So everywhere you will see this title bar, which contains the title of every screen. Then at last we have this one, application toolbar. So this is just an extension of your standard toolbar. Application toolbar, you can see here, this is application toolbar. It is just an extension of your standard toolbar, and this also contains some buttons. We can also design our custom buttons here. If you want to check the buttons of how they have been designed, just go to system, status, and here you will see the screen number. Double click on the screen number. You can go to that screen. Or if you want to check the actual buttons, go for GUI status. Just see here, menu bar, and you can see here, this is your menu bar. If I will go for application toolbar, you can see this, some application buttons are there. Just see that. This is your user, SAP, lots of buttons designed by, all of them are SAP design buttons. Then you have this function keys. Just see this function keys. Application tool, just see a standard toolbar or function keys. See this back button, like this one is your, can you see this? Exit button, then this cancel button. Lots of buttons are there designed by SAP system, right? Then at last we have this screen area. This is your screen area. This is where the actual application is displayed, and this is where we will write our programs, we will develop our application, right? And at last we have this status bar, the last part of your SAP GUI screen. This one, this below, this is your status bar, where the status of your developed application will be displayed. For example, if I am testing my program locally, I'm checking for error. If I am executing or activating anything, all the status messages will be displayed here. So this is how we can divide our SAP screen into 7 different parts, right? Perfect. This is how we can divide our screen into 7 different parts. Then if you check where we are going to store our objects. I told, so where we will store our developed objects. I told that we are going to develop object, right? Just before 10 or 15 minutes ago, I explained that we are going to develop objects here, where we will store the our developed object. So to store anything, if let's take an example of your house, where let's say if I have to store a packet of biscuit, I will need a container, right? So if I have to store anything, I will definitely need a container to store it. So to store any object, we always need a container, right? We always need a container. And if I, so same case is there in SAP also. We will need a container, or we can also create our own containers, right? And container in which we are going to store our object. Our object is called a package. It is called a package. Very important word. So where we will store our object, we will store our object in a package, right? Very, very crucial. So to create a package for us, we will go to AC21 transaction code. First shortcut of our training, AC21 transaction code. It is used to create a package. It is used to create a package. But before that, I explained that everything must be aligned on a transport request. It doesn't matter whether if it is a package, everything must be aligned on a transport request. So where we can manage our transport request? So we can manage, that is we can create, update, delete, everything. Manage simply means everything, all these things. So we can manage our transport request from AC09 or AC10 transaction codes. Whenever I am telling transaction codes, most of you are functional consultant. I know you all know this, but this is the most easiest way to remember these things. Always try to relate every technical concept with your real life. This is just a shortcut. Using that, I can easily go to a particular section of this SAP system, right? So we can manage our transport request from either AC09 or from AC10 transaction code. So this is where you can manage your transport request. So this is the second and third important transaction code that we must remember everything, right? So SE21 from where we will develop our package, and SE09 or SE10 from where you will develop your transaction code. Now, two important terminology, and I believe you all know that. Who is going to explain what is the difference between /n and /o? Anyone? What is the difference between it?
And will end the current session, and
Yeah.
/o will open a new session, retaining the present one.
Okay, that's good. Who explained it? Saurabh, right? No, Rahul.
Rahul, yeah.
Yeah. Devrup, do you know about this /n/o?
Yeah, actually, /n is we can end the current session, and /o we can open a parallel
Yeah,
session.
that's really
Yeah.
good, because this is a very important, very crucial thing which we usually use lots of time, but sometimes we forget their use cases. So what we see is these these two words are very, very important. So whenever we want to open a new session or a new session or screen And meanwhile, I also want to end the current one. We will use /n followed by the transaction code. For example, transaction code. For example, if I'm using /n SE38 or SE21, let's say, it will take me to package builder, but my current screen will also end. So here, if I'm going for /n SE21, or let's say I've opened SE11, and from here I'm going for SE21, it will end this current screen and it will take me to package builder, right? It will take me to the package builder. Or sometime, let's say I have developed one program and I want to take help from that program, and also parallelly I want to create another program. So in that situation, so whenever we want to open a new session, and parallelly and oh, come on. And also I want to use the current session, then we will use /o, right? Then we'll use /o followed by the transaction code of the new session, right? So best example is, let's say I have opened this program that I have developed. For example, I have opened one program. This is a program I have all created. Now what I want to take help from this program, and parallelly I want to create another program. So I'll go for /o and I'll go for SE38, right? And if I see these two tabs are also there, I can take help from this one, and parallelly I can create this one also, right? So this is how it can be used. So at most mainly we can create a different session using the SAP GUI or GUI. Very important /n and /o. So let's create our transport request for this training, where we will store all our objects. I will simply go to SE10. I'll go to SE10 now. But before that, what kind of transport request we are going to create? If you see this request, what kind of transport request we are going to create? So I talked about the development system, very important. Here, workbench request is the one where the developer will create and make changes. Workbench requests are explicitly aligned for the developers for creating, changing, or performing any kind of the operations. And customizing request, as a functional consultant, whenever you go and make some configuration, you might have realized that a customizing request is always there, right? Some of you would have definitely realized that customizing request is the where the functional consultants consultant make the configuration, right? That is where they make the configuration. So workbench is for us, and which we are going to use. So here I will go for this workbench, I will select, and I will go for this create button, right? I will select the workbench request and I will go for OK. So this is my section where I will simply give a short description. So transport request for ABAP on HANA training And I will also pass the timing so that I will not confuse AM weekends. Let's not get in. Perfect. I'll go for save button. It has been created, right? I will simply copy it. This is very, very important. Now if I go and see, I'll find out that this has been created. Go for display button, and yeah, see here, this first one, transport request for ABAP training 10 to 12 a.m. weekends. Perfect. So this transport request, and if you see this section, this is like a folder. This is like a folder where everything will be allocated. For example, this is my one of the most used folders, and if I go inside it, just open it, lots of things are there, lots of programs, text, lots of report source code, table indexes are there, lots of definitions, lots of things are allocated onto this particular section. Lots of things are there into this particular section, right, which we can use it. So we will create our we have created our own transport request, and now we will create our package where we will store our package data. So I'll go for my SE21, right? SE21 is the package builder. Now most important thing, developing a custom object, right? First we need to discuss that, then we will create our package. How to develop a custom object. How to develop a custom object. And what is the guideline given by SAP to develop a custom object? So when SAP launched this product, launched this SAP software, they also knew that we can distinguish the object, the standard object and the custom object, because if something is standard, there should be some difference between the standard and custom object. So what they did, SAP gave a guideline. SAP gave a guideline that all the custom objects will be developed by using the name by using the naming convention Z or Y. Your name always start with Z or Y. You cannot start without Z or Y, because that is only reserved for SAP. All the standard products, their name will always start other than Z or Y, right? So mostly when you see in the market, what you'll find out, mostly, or I say 99.9% people only uses Z naming convention, which I will use, but this is totally up to you which one you want to use. You can go for Y also, it's totally up to you. So our object name must start with Z or Y, right? It always start with Z or Y. So I will develop my package Z ABAP on HANA training. Okay, go for create button. I will pass a short description, my ABAP training weekends batch, morning 10 to 12, and I will go for OK. See here, as soon as I clicked on OK button, it is asking for a request. It is asking for a local workbench request. So request is very important, because if you are not allocating a request, you will not be able to migrate it into the quality or production system. So that is that is not important for our training, because this is only for projects, but you always follow the guidelines while developing any object, right? So I will here select my transport request. This is my develop transport request. I think the first one is the one where it is. Yeah, first one. I will double click on that. By default it will be selected here, and go for OK button and save it. So now if you will go to your SE10, you will find out, just refresh it, open this transport request, and inside it you will see a package is now available, and this is the package which we have just aligned it. This package is my container where all my objects that I'm going to create, I will simply store it here, right? All the package that I'm going to develop, I will store them here. Okay, so what are the workbench tools that is given by SAP system for the developers, right? We need to understand that part. So ABAP workbench, ABAP workbench. So ABAP workbench is the collection of workbench tools which is used to develop and manage the applications required by the clients. Is a collection of tools which is used to develop and manage the application required by the clients. Some of the important and highly used tools are SE11, also known as ABAP dictionary. This tool is used to create and maintain the database object, which will be my first chapter of this training, right? So SE11, this is the tool which is create and maintain the database objects like tables, views, data elements, search helps, etc. Then the second important tool is my SE38. Here SE simply means system engineering. Sometime you will see SM also, so system maintenance. So whatever SAP has given the these transaction codes, they have used a proper naming convention, and they have also given a proper definition for all these things. So SE38, ABAP editor. So if you have done any programming in your life, or if you have done, you might know that what is the editor. So the job of any editor is to edit or maintain the programs. So ABAP editor is where we will create and modify our ABAP programs, right? This is my second important tool. Then the third one that I have here is SE37, or you can call it function builder. So this workbench tool is highly dedicated, or is mainly used to create or maintain the functions. They are used to create or maintain the function. Everything we are going to see them, we will break down into different things, and slowly we will learn them. And then we have one more is SE24. object builder. This tool is completely dedicated for object-oriented programming. This is completely dedicated for object-oriented programming, which we will use to develop and maintain our object-oriented concepts. Okay. This is my SE24 object builder, or also known as class builder. Okay. SE24, and so these are some of the most important tools that we have, which we usually use. One of them, one more is there, SEGW gateway builder. Gateway builder for developing OData services. You might have heard about this one also. Right. So lots of tools are there, and every tool is a chapter here. Every tool is a chapter. Lots of time it needed to access that and to understand all these features, right? So we will start with our ABAP dictionary. This will be my very first chapter, right? So let's see introduction part today. Tomorrow we will move on to implementation part. So ABAP dictionary. ABAP dictionary, which is my very first chapter of this training. But before that, is there any question in this introduction section of SAP?
One question.
Yeah.
Actually, you were talking about package, right? So package basically is a container
Yeah.
where we store the objects.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, as a security consultant, I am working on roles. So roles are definitely is an object also. In the user, they have some specific roles.
Uh-huh.
So roles are also stored in a package.
No, see, roles are not developed objects. They are not like workbench, something that you can store it in a package. If I'm talking about a package, that's a custom object that a developer is building, right? Custom object that developer is building. For that part, we need package. Otherwise, I also explained that we have lots of temporary memory available on this application layer, which are used basically, but that roles are assigned by the basis consultant, I believe, right?
No, by assigned by security consultant by us actually.
Wait, are you talking about this one? I don't have that much idea on
SU,
that part.
yeah,
Yeah,
SU0.
so here we usually assign these roles, right? This role,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. These are assigned by us
Ah,
and designed by
okay.
us also using
No,
GRC.
see,
So
just to understand one
On the basis
situation.
only, but
But
the
that part
payment
also
payment comes on the basis only.
okay, so what I want to explain here is that this is not something a standard object or a product that you are developing. This is just a role. So SAP has some separate space for these things to which is stored there into directly tables. These all are stored into a table. That has nothing to do with a package. That table is there. So that table, let's say if you are creating this SU0, you have created a data into this SU01. So if you go to there, you will find out that there is a standard table, user 02, I believe.
USR02.
User 02, right? So that data or that role is directly stored into a table. That is not an object, right? This is not an object. This is just a data. Whatever role you have created, this is just a data which will be stored into this table. So similarly, you are creating a role. So you can check that there will be some definitely table associated with that. That data is directly stored into the table. That is not an object. Okay,
Okay.
is it clear?
Yeah. So the table itself is a object, right?
Yeah, table is a object, and here in the attribute section you can see a package is there,
Mhm.
right? This table, this is a standard table, it is not starting with Z. That is why you can see this package is also not starting with dev. Who has developed this? SAP has developed it, right?
Got it.
Okay, perfect. So SE11, any question, anyone other than that? No? Okay. So ABAP dictionary is the central repository system in SAP, which is used to manage or is used to create or maintain the database objects like tables, views, data types, data elements or domains, search helps, the transaction code for ABAP dictionary is SE11. So just go to SE11. Yeah, this is let's just go back to SE11. Yeah, perfect. So this is your ABAP dictionary. ABAP dictionary initial screen. Before that, whenever you will go open your SAP system, this SAP Easy Access screen will open. Now go to SE11. This is your ABAP dictionary. And how many section can you see here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 important radio buttons are here, right? So on your ABAP dictionary, SAP has given us seven different radio buttons for different concepts, right? Different concepts, 7 different radio buttons: database, table, view, data type, group, domain, search help, lock objects, everything. We will slowly discuss them, right? So this is a table, but before that, if you go to each and everything, you will see that some square button is coming here, right? Some square kind of thing is coming here, on this one also, on this one also. What is this?
F4 search help.
F4 search help, right? So two very important helps are available. Helps given by SAP for standard fields, and we can also design for our custom fields also. What these two helps are, first one is F4 and the second one is F1. F4 help and F1 help. That is, just go to any field and press F4. You'll get some help, right? You'll get some help for these things. So if I'm talking about F4 help, there you will see. So F4 help is also known as search help or value help. And what it does, it displays us the various possible values of a field. Then F1 help is there, right? So F1 help is used to display the technical characteristics of a field. So if you will press F1 help on any of these things, just press F1. See, name of dictionary type. This is a data type. I pressed F1 on this data type radio button. So here, if you see data elements or domains, structures, table type. So it is saying that there are three possible data types available, and using this we can create any data type, right? So if I will go, let me just close it. If I will, let's say, pass something here, z with z, and I will try to create any object. If I'll go for create, you can see these three are coming, which I got the information using F1, that we can create these three objects, right? So this is F1 help, and all these two things we can also design for us in our programs and in our ABAP database object also. Everywhere we can do that. So these two things are very, very crucial. Now let's move on to our very first object of ABAP dictionary, which is a database table. Who will explain what is a table? Who will explain what is a table?
Table, yeah, I am explaining.
Okay.
Yeah, we can say table is an entity where we can store data in a particular sequence.
Sequence. Okay, you tried good, really good, but that is not a complete answer for it. Anyone else? I believe all of you have done engineering. All of you will have faced this SQL, right? What is table?
Simply put, we
Devrup?
can say it is container of data.
Container of data, that's good. Definitely it is a container, but that is not sufficient, right? Then what is the difference between package and table, right?
Uh, Package is a container of objects. Stable is a container of data.
That's okay.
Yeah,
All
we
right, guys,
can.
let's see that. A basic. Tell me, Devru.
Yeah, we can store. I just explained like store data in a particular sequence in row or column format.
Okay. All right. So, what is the basic definition of table? A table is a collection of rows and columns. First thing, rows and columns, and it is the actual permanent storage in a database where the data is stored. Where the data is stored. This is the only permanent storage. This is the only permanent storage where data will be stored inside the database. Data will be stored inside the database. So whenever if you hear that we are going to store data in something else other than tables, it simply means other than this, all of them are temporary storage. Temporary storage. All of them are temporary storage. Column, for a table, if you open any of the standard tables, I believe you know some of the tables. As a functional one, you might have heard MARA table, material master table, right? So you see here, lots of columns are there. All these things are column. How many columns are there? 361 columns. Matter something include is there. That part we all will see slowly one by one. So there is lots of columns. Something is in blue color, something is in black color. We will differentiate that part. But if you go and check its data, all this data you can see here, right? Here data is restricted. Mostly we can go and check from some other T codes. That part we will also see. So it is the actual place. A table is the actual place where we will actually store our data. Now the question here is, uh, can we store? It's a very important question that I have here. Can we store every kind of data in the same table? Kind of data in the same table? Is it possible, right? It will, if I will try to store every kind of data in a same table, it will create lots of problem. there will be inconsistency of data in the system, and my system will not run properly, right? So SAP knew this problem because some data are changed very rarely, right? Some data are changed very rarely. If I talk about my user access, let's say, which was created, so how many times my user access data will be changed? Very rarely. Some, let's say, in a year maybe, or let's say if I've created some data in this Mara table, how many times it is going to be changed? Some data are changed very rarely. Some data are updated often on a regular manner, right? Some data are updated often on a regular manner. So this was not possible, right? This was not possible to store every kind of data in the same table. It was not possible. So here SAP decided something. What SAP did, SAP divided, let's say, for each module, it will be more better. For each module, I'm talking about, let's say, separate modules. So for each module, SAP knew that they cannot store every kind of data together. So what they did, they divided the tables mainly into two parts. Into two parts. First one is your header table, and the second one is your item table. Header table and item table. They divided the tables mainly into two parts, and to maintain the consistency into the system, consistency into the system, they linked the table together. To maintain the consistency, they linked the table together. So header table and item table, always. So if you might have heard about sales order header, sales order, there we have header and item table also. Just go and check. VBAK is your sales order header table. VBAK, see, sales document header data, and VBAP is the item table. So item data you get there into VBAP, item data, right? So this is header table. Header table contains the main document data. Main document information, and item table contains the line item data. Now, what is the difference between them? So main document information, so data which are changed very rarely. SAP, the data which are changed very rarely, mostly they are in header table only. So there, those columns are there in header table. And here in items, so records which can be changed regularly, which can be changed or updated regularly. They are regularly. They are stored into the item table. So SAP had divided the tables concept into two parts, mainly header and item or line item, and they have connected them together so that the consistency in the system should be maintained, right? That part we will see them detail. We will create our own table. So overall, this session was all about the SAP overview, our first workbench tools overview, creation of transport request and package, and then a little bit discussion on table. In the next part, we will create our table and we will discuss them together. Okay. So if there is any question, please ask.